On September 7, 1191, in the midst of the Third Crusade, the Battle of Arsuf unfolded. It became a defining victory for a coalition of Crusader forces led by Richard I of England, who triumphed over a numerically superior army from the Ayyubid Sultanate under the command of Saladin. The clash occurred shortly after the Crusaders captured Acre, prompting Saladin to intercept Richard as he marched south toward Jaffa, near Arsuf. Following the fall of Acre in 1191, Richard I understood the strategic necessity of securing Jaffa, a vital port that would serve as a launch point for any future assault on Jerusalem. In August, he began a steady coastal march from Acre to Jaffa, aware that Saladin would attempt to halt his advance. Richard prepared this march with meticulous care. At Acre, the Crusaders had seized much of the Egyptian fleet, giving Richard control of the coastline and allowing his army to move safely with the sea guarding their right flank. Haunted by the catastrophe at Hattin, where heat and dehydration devastated the Crusader army, Richard prioritized access to water and protection from the relentless sun. The Crusader fleet traveled alongside the land column, delivering supplies and evacuating the wounded. To counter Saladin's hit-and-run tactics, Richard kept his forces tightly grouped. At the center of the formation marched 12 cavalry regiments of roughly 100 knights each, while infantry units shielded the landward side from hostile arrows and raiders. Crossbowmen formed the outer edges, providing covering fire. On the seaside, the baggage train moved parallel to the column, supported by infantry who were rotated regularly to keep them fresh despite constant harassment. The Crusader pace was set by the infantry and supply convoys, while the Ayyubid forces, almost entirely cavalry, used their mobility to launch continuous raids. By early September, Saladin realized that small-scale harassment would not stop the Crusader advance. If he wanted to break Richard's march, he would need to commit his entire army. The Crusaders' route led through the Wood of Arsuf, one of the few forested regions in Palestine. Its dense cover offered Saladin the perfect opportunity to assemble an ambush. Contemporary sources estimate Saladin's force at around 25,000, predominantly cavalry, horse archers, light cavalry, and some heavy units. Richard commanded roughly 10,000 infantry, including spearmen and crossbowmen, and about 1,200 heavy cavalry. Before sunrise on September 7, as Richard's army moved out of camp, enemy scouts appeared on all sides, signs that Saladin's entire force was concealed within the woods. Richard arranged his column with extreme care, placing the disciplined military orders at the most vulnerable points, the Templars at the front and the Hospitallers at the rear. The Crusader vanguard was led by the Knights Templar under Robert de Sable. Behind them marched contingents of Richard's soldiers, Angevins, Bretons, and Poitevins, alongside Guy of Lusignan, the nominal king of Jerusalem. The rear guard was protected by the Knights Hospitaller, commanded by Garnier de Nablus. Saladin's vanguard consisted of skirmishers, Bedouins, Sudanese archers, and nimble Turkish horse archers. Behind them stood the heavily armored Mamluks, Kurdish cavalry, and troops drawn from Egypt, Syria, and Mesopotamia. Saladin organized his forces into 3 wings, left, right, and center, with himself commanding from the middle, surrounded by his elite guard. Their plan relied on relentless hit-and-run strikes designed to break the Crusader formation through exhaustion and attrition. The first wave began with Bedouin and Nubian infantry launching volleys of arrows and javelins, then falling back as mounted archers galloped forward to strike and withdraw. The goal was to erode the Crusaders' discipline and cohesion. Crossbowmen fired back when possible, but their main task was to hold formation despite the unending barrage. When these attacks failed to produce results, Saladin shifted pressure toward the rear guard, concentrating on the Hospitallers who endured the heaviest assault. Despite the ferocity of Saladin's charges, he could not break Richard's tight formation or halt the advance toward Arsuf. Richard insisted his army remain cohesive, absorbing the punishment until the perfect moment for a decisive counterattack arrived. The strain, however, was immense. Heat and thirst battered the Crusaders, horses were being killed beneath them, and morale wavered. The Hospitaller crossbowmen at the rear were pushed back repeatedly, eventually losing formation, allowing enemy cavalry to slip into the Crusader lines. In this critical moment, Garnier de Nablus urgently asked Richard for permission to charge. Richard refused, determined to wait for the precise moment signaled by 6 trumpets. But the situation at the rear was spiraling out of control. Unable to endure further, the Hospitaller Marshal, and one of Richard's knights, Baldwin le Caron, launched an unauthorized charge with the cry of St. George. Their assault quickly swept up the rest of the Hospitaller knights and then many French knights behind them. Though it endangered the carefully planned strategy, Richard understood that he had no choice but to support the unexpected attack. He ordered a full charge across the entire line. Without his reinforcement, the Hospitallers would have been overwhelmed by Saladin's superior numbers. Frankish infantry made openings for the knights, allowing the counteroffensive to surge from the rear toward the front of the column. Saladin's right wing, already dangerously close to the Crusader rearguard, could not escape. Many of their cavalry had dismounted to improve their accuracy with the bow, leaving them exposed to the heavy cavalry charge. The result was devastating. the Ayyubids suffered heavy casualties as Crusader knights fought with renewed fury after hours of endurance. Baldwin Locaran and the Hospitaller Marshal had acted at the perfect moment. The momentum of the attack shattered Saladin's lines. Baha al-Din witnessed the collapse of the center and left wings firsthand and, upon searching for Saladin's banner, found only a handful of guards and a lone drummer remaining, a sign of complete chaos within the Ayyubid army. Recognizing that scattered units might regroup for another strike, Richard paused to reorganize his army before pressing the advantage once more. A final coordinated charge drove Saladin's remaining forces into the surrounding forests and hills, ending their willingness to continue the fight. Richard then led his army back to Arsuf, where Crusader infantry had established their camp. Throughout the night, the Crusaders collected valuables from the battlefield. Ayyubid casualties were severe, 32 emirs and around 7,000 soldiers, while Richard's army suffered fewer than 700 losses. The Battle of Arsuf stands as one of the most crucial engagements of the Third Crusade, highlighting Richard the Lionheart's tactical brilliance and altering the balance of power in the Holy Land. Although the victory did not lead directly to the recapture of Jerusalem, it crippled Saladin's momentum, revived Crusader morale, and reshaped the strategic landscape. In the aftermath, the Crusaders fortified key positions, a chain of events that ultimately culminated in the Treaty of Jaffa, granting Christian pilgrims access to Jerusalem. The battle remains a powerful example of medieval warfare's complexity and the determination shown by both Crusader and Muslim forces in their struggle for control of the region.